Start from Sifches. So the Nekuda is, I was speaking before, that there's two, the Nekuda of Allah is Piskedinim, and you get a behavior regarding a certain object. Every Allah is a certain behavior that has to be done with a certain chayfetz. And the Nekuda said, what's the pshat that the Eibush is telling a person to do something with something? Is because there's a certain objective. The Eibusher wants the thing in order for the thing to be behesem or tzayne, it has to be in a certain way. And the halach is the person is the one to go to effect to make it happen that the chayvet should be behesem or ratzon. So the nekuda kolos of what halacha is other areas in Torah, not necessarily dealing with that the world should be ba'efin, which is behesem to his ratzon, that the world should be in sync with what the Eibusher wants. The other none is the that's in order to have a cut in the Eibusher, to get to know the Eibusher kabiyachol. Not the fact that to be pale in the Eilam is unveiled, that it should be behesem to ratzon elim. Mashiach halacha is to be pale and unveiled, that it should be behesem to ratzon elim. And in order to make the world, it should be behesem to ratzon elim. There's two poles that's needed. First of all, to be mechanech the world, to take when you get the dugma, when you get the skin of a behemoth. So you have skin of a cow. The way it is just the skin. I'm just saying a dugma ba'am, just skin of a cow. So one thing is the chiyuv to make from it a klaf, to make it a chefzer shel mitzvah, to make from it a klaf. And in order for that to happen, you have to certain dinim the ibad has to be lishma in order to make the ta'aketin to make this chayfetz that should be a chefzer shel kedusha. There's a certain kayach which is invested in it. If you do this ma'asim al pi din, the chayfetz itself becomes a chefzer shel kedusha. So it doesn't get to every chayfetz. You're actually changing the nature of the chayfetz. B'shas Yid takes his yad and puts on tefillin. So you just educated your yad. You just changed it that it should be a chayfetz behesem l'ratzon adam. A hand weight is b'tzadatzmei or the me'ach adam. Just me'ach adam itself. That's not a me'ach which is behesem to ratzon adam. A me'ach which is you affected it, you impacted it with the idea, the Yetzer Matzirishin, a me'ach which knows that there's an Eibush there. That's a me'ach behesem to ratzon adam. But that's not enough. Then you have to cancel that aspect in the me'ach that it's a neutral being. Mitzad ratzon, what's the definition of the me'ach api Allah? The definition of a me'ach is a me'ach which has idea as Hashem. What's the definition of a yad api Allah? A yad api Allah is a yad which is meneach tefillin, and a yad and l'mashal to give it lahakis is an isur lahakis. It means mitzad ratzon the agdara of a yad is a yad which is to give tzedakah, not a yad which could be maked. So even after you're piled even chiyuve on the yad, that it should be a yad of anachas tefillin or a yad which is nice in tzedakah, you affect the yad that it should be taka metzias behesem to ratzon alien, but kol zman it's still not mufrich. That's not its entire definition. It's you're not shelo that aspect in the yad that that it could be without the mitzvah. Hot nach nicht aufgetan, then the world is still not behesem to ratzon alien. Then the on comes to the Polish lilis to be shelo that the kud in the yad that it's a metzias, a neutral being, that it's not that its get it is not the way the way Allah looks at the yad. It doesn't mention agaret less. So now, Tuna we're learning is two different pools, not necessarily one's higher than the other. So first of all, we don't know the same way we're seeing them using this dogma to get the klaf. The same way we understand that when you're making klaf, the technical thing of being ma'abedit and writing down Eses HaTorah, that doesn't make it kaddish. That's just a technical. You call it black on it. That doesn't make it. It doesn't invest kedusha in the klaf. The fact that the klaf becomes a chefzer shel kedusha is because your person there's a certain kayach haTorah in a person's fullness. So you're ma'abed the klaf lishma, or your kaisef is Hashem with kavan al pi din. Then the ink itself becomes kaddish. Then there's kedusha Hashem in the Eses Shemavai they write in the klaf. Or when you're ma'abed, you write the sefer Torah al pi the dinim the way a sefer supposed to write sefer Torah. So now there's kedusha in this klaf. So there's every mitzvah. There's a certain kayach. If a guy does it, it doesn't invest kedusha in the sefer. Al derech zeh, if a yid does it shalei al pidin, so it's going to be Esis, it's not going to have kedusha within them. So al derech zeh, every time a yid does Allah, he's making a certain impact. The fact that you can make an impact to change the mitzias hanivra, sai befen shel chiyuv, that you're educating it to be behesem to the Eibusher wants, and the fact that you're being mevatel a certain aspect, that's a certain kayach eliki which exists in Allah. So they get to Rebbe Reden that the chiyuv and the shlidah come from two different inyanim and elikus. And so there is coming that the shlidah is a higher inyan than the chiyuv. There's a richas, but that's we did the beginning of Sifches. Or we'll just start from the beginning. Kivin shedvar revival. So halacha is not stam as a shingareting in the Western. It's not stam as a the Eibusher told us what to do, but it's dvar havai. It's all that's the expression of Elokus. And Halach itself, B'Sachas in the Metzias Shebaylam. And the Yach is a base, so the whole gather of Halach is only Shaychas in the Metzias in the belt. And the Yach is a base that knows the Chiyuv B'Shlila. Wie man gerät letzte Mal. Had er Svar in his senes, so Apisechel is. So there is all vehicle here is a Malent Rambam, not with Mekadis in Bechutz. Apisvar kommt es, shall there is a Gamba Kadish Baruch HaMetzav Halachis. It means that the Halachis are derive their tchunis from the Eibusher, which is the Makar Allah. So, as far as in a sense, there's somebody get to the Eibusher that is Yachas the illness is in two tnuis. Chiyuv and Shliv. That we'll see. Chene befragt shesh the kesher v'yachas kaviyachol l'mitzias shebaylam. Belavach, so to speak. Belavach is that there is a kesher v'yachas to the mitzias shebaylam. V'shelachin gam b'yachas zeh yesh nebez atnuis the chiyuv b'shliv. Okay, let me say. But Pizan verstehen bei ihm kesher divrera. Okay, man schon geredet. Let me say babir b'zeh. This part, we're holding by this part. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mufshet u'mushlo megeder ha'mitzias shel ha'nimtzayim. Yes, the first thing the Rebbe says, the Eibusher mitzad atzmi, and this is a given. This is not. This is a given. That the Eibusher mitzad atzmi is not limited or is not connected to the gather of what's considered existence. The Gabi Nimtzayim. That means what's considered by us, the gather of kiyum, which is considered by, we say something exists. Not only we say the Eibusher is mushlo, that the Eibusher is not limited. Say a nivra is a limited, a table is only a table and not something else. And Gashvi says Gashvi is not ruchnis, and the Eibusher is pashut. He's mufshit from a certain definition, from a certain title. It's more than that. The whole concept of existence doesn't exist in the Eibusher. See, the Eibusher exists. The concept of existence, of being, being and not being, that concept doesn't exist in the Eibusher. He's mufshit from that concept too. Because the concept of existence that we know it is a certain chiyuvistic of art. It means, what's the shayla that something is kaim? To be shayla that he's not that he's not heder, that he doesn't not exist. But the Eibusher, the whole concept of heder doesn't exist. The whole concept that there's nimtza versus heder, that's all the davar and is chadish. The Eibusher is mechuyev mitzias. The whole concept of heder doesn't exist. The whole concept of havaya, the way we're mitzayir, the musig of being, doesn't exist. The Gabi. So the Eibusher's motzei v'leiv mitzias. The fact that the Eibusher's motzei is not in the same category of existence, the way we're mitzayir, the musig of existence. That's the It means matzah is a concept. Being, existing is a concept. And the Eibusher himself is beyond the category too. I am resolving that an Eibusher that he's a matzah. We have no other way of saying. We want to bring out that he's not existent, that he does not exist. We have no other word to express the fact that he does not exist. So we say that he's nimtza, but not that he has the same definition of nimtza that a nivra has. You see, the Eibusher is one. The whole concept of eschalkus, you see, by Nivraim, there's a musig of something which is murka from pratim. There's eschalkus, there's division. You see, the Eibusher is not a divisible thing, or the Eibusher is not comprised. But it's not the pshat that he's one. The whole concept of division doesn't exist. The whole concept of division was created. So the whole concept of division that was created, the musig that we know echad is that he's mushlo from our kav, mushlo from eschalkus. But the whole concept of eschalkus doesn't exist in the Eibusher. So there's the whole musik of echad is the shtal the Gabi the Eibusher. It's more Nukud of kadman is more than nirgash. You say the Eibusher is a kadman. What's that kadman? He always existed. The Eibusher is a chal. They say certain things began to exist in a certain point of time, and the Eibusher didn't come into being at a certain point of time. He was always. He always existed. But the whole concept of always doesn't exist. The whole musik of zman doesn't exist in the Gabi the Eibusher. So it's not shaykh to say that he's a kadman. Something that's under the category of Zman, so you say that certain things started at a certain point, and certain things, me'az me'elam, they were here. But you're saying me'az me'elam means they were always here. Von alam al gewen. They were always here. But if the musik of Zman didn't exist, the musik of Hoya, Hey, V'yik, was a created musik. So the Taich Kadman is not shaykh to say the Gabi the Eibusher. We have no other word. We're Hamanish Kim musik in a mitzvah, which is something which the whole gather of Zman doesn't exist. So Hamanish Kim Andavart, we say that he was here von alam. He's here in Bikedem. But it's not an accurate description. Mohammed can underfect wie zu sagen that he wasn't this chadish. But mainly we say that he was always here. But be'etzem the gabi him, the whole gather doesn't exist. Afshini b'merais ha'gubis, the ribi ve'achtas ve'ni matzi b'zman b'chol. He's not under the whole category b'chol. So al derech zeh, the whole mustig of heder is a davar shen is chadish. The Eibusher said the same way the table was nischadish, the elemus was nischadish eshmayin. The whole concept of all the gedorim of mitzias, which are shaychs and mitzias, were all nischadish. Not only that the chleis shamayim was nischadish, the category of being of shamayim was nischadish. Before anything was exist, there was only the Eibusher himself. The Gabi the Eibusher himself. There's no musik of ayin. There's no musik of something which doesn't exist. and b'meila there's no musik of something which is brought into being, a being which is a gather of existence which is lishlel not being, that type of being didn't exist. How does the Eibishter exist? We have no idea. That's beyond the whole musik of tfisa. The whole musik of kiyum was this chadish. So those are the Ram that the Eibishter mitzadatzmei, the whole hagdar of being is a whole different gather of mitzias. It's not nimtza in our gdar. Matzi leib mitzias. That's the Eibishter mitzadatzmei. Elo sha'oli b'rtzein libre elim. So that means it just the Rebbe brings later a lashon. It's an interesting lashon. The Rebbe brings later, the Lashon says in Nevuchim, it's not shaykh to say, when you get to Mesikus, let's say, Svar, you can say that it's like Gleiche Svar or Krumme Svar. It's not shaykh to say like it's something sweet, that it's musik, a Gleiche sweetness or a Krumme sweetness. The musik of Yashrus and a Kmimus doesn't exist in Mesikus. Or other than Svar, you're going to say that there's a green Svar, a yellow Svar, a color of a Svar. There's no colors in the Svar. It doesn't exist of it. I mean, there's different Gdarnim of Metzias. And in Svar and Igayin, so the musik of a square and circle doesn't exist of it. It's not the pshat that it's the mitzias of square and circle is batal legabi seichel. It's existiert dort nazam certain mitzias. In the Elam HaSeichel doesn't exist technical colors, or like in the world of mesikus doesn't exist a gleiche zach a krumme mesikus. They're sweet or bitter. Gleichkeit and krumkeit existiert dort. So there said the type of mitzias of Elam is. This gather of Metzias, the Gabi the Eibishter doesn't exist. It's a Kinzachnish. The Gabi Elokus, if Mitzad the Eibishter himself, the musik of Metzias doesn't exist. Because his Metzias, besteht bechanish from their certain Metzias. His Matziv Lev Metzias. Zayin Faranakait is a whole different type of existence. So in order for it to be Eis Havos, that means in order for it to be Shemayim Be'eret, which this category of being doesn't exist like Gabi him, there has to be a Tzimtzum. Because Mitzad the Eibishter himself, this is not considered an existence. But do taking you're saying seichel, there is no green. It doesn't exist within the realm of seichel. So the way Elokus is mitzadatzmei, the gather of mitzias of Elamis is not considered existence. Doesn't exist. In a kayim. The Eibishter the Gewalt Zayna Welt. All the Bertzene libre Elamis, and they should be a mitzias. So that's an inyan of Anvesanusim. So it's a mashpul given kaviyachol, and he limited himself. That he should exist also within the terms of what's considered existence legabi Nivrai. That legabi him, Shamayim should be a Metzias. And Eretz should be a Metzias. And the type of Metzias of Mitzrayim is on Hasten Metzias. You say, Mitzat Seichel, there's no gather of green and yellow. If Oliver said there should be a musik of green and yellow, so he has to lower himself from the level of Metzias of Seichel. He has to lower himself to Azasar Dargah from Metzias, where there, yellow and green are the Indian. Legabi Seichel, yellow and green are not the Indian. The Rebbe speaking before HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe, the Rebbe read nicht Atzvus now, the Rebbe speaking of the Pashas Advarim. The Eibishter Mitzadatzmei is beyond the definition of being of a Nivra. Let's say the definition of being of a Nivra is Mugbal, and the Eibishter Mitzadatzmei is beyond the Gedar Mugbal. You should understand the Bia. So Legabi him, this concept of existence doesn't exist. In order for there to be a Metzias, Oliver said there should be a Metzias of Adel. So the only way is that he has a Mashval given, that his existence should also be as a certain Metzias, which legabi this realm of being, Eilam is Shamayim Ba'aretz do have shivas, do have meaning, are considered mitzias legabi. So that's what it's all the saying libre Eilam is, and this enough. Uba'am the son is hishpel atzmi kavayach. Uba'asar mamar is barish vayim basar. So uba'asar mamar. So the Eibishter says he heard a kia. That means the kechel leki was mislavish in the tzir, which is Eimer he heard a kia. That means in the gather of mitzad dvar avaya, rakia is a mitzias. If Rakia is not a Metzias, what's that? There's a Dibra Laki which says you hear Rakia. Mitzad the Etzma Velakus, before the Tzimtzum, there is no gather of Rakia. Shtaz Zach was read Angru from Rakia. There's no such a thing, Yehi. There's no such a thing as Epes Zolvern. The Musik as something Zolvern is already a Musik. Something should come into being. Legabi the Etzma Velakus, there is no concept. There's only him. He's beyond the whole concept of any Musag which are Shaykhs in this house. Any Musik of Metzias, which is already a certain tzir which has to do with the Musagim of Nivrai, was this Chadish. So that's through Ashpal. So by Sarim Amar is Barish Ma'am Basaris. Ukmayim Elazal, B'mokim Dulos, Hagdul is a Ma'isivish. So Legabi Nivraim, his Havos is a Dov and Niflu Ma'id. But Legabi the Eibishter, it's a Tzimtzum. Atamei Tzimtzum means Legabi the Amitis Advar, Legabi Elokus, the whole Musik of his Havos is this Chadish Yishmayim. His Havos is a certain concept. Bringing something from nothing. That's already a concept. The Eibishter himself is beyond any concept. That's what motivating Mitzias. He's beyond any concept of being that we can relate to. Not that we can, he's beyond any concept of being. Oh. So thus, It doesn't say mefurish in the Rambam, this Nikud of Tzimtzum. The Rebbe brings from Chazal, that it says that Gdula is a Ma'aseh, it says, B'mokim Gdula Hashem at HaMetzim V'Sunusi, and that Chassidus type, what's B'mokim Gdula Hashem at HaMetzim? The Gemara doesn't say that B'mokim Gdula Hashem at HaMetzim V'Sunusi means it's Havas. But the Rebbe teaches in this Chazal, that Gdula wird angerufen in Teire Ma'aseh Bereishis. B'mokim Gdula say that's his Ashval. The Rambam doesn't say mefurish, the Rebbe is going to teach this in the Rambam, these two in none. But mefurish, that is Havas, is Mitzad HaTzimtzum, that we have a Chazal. Without Rebbe teaches the Chazal. The Chazal says, other the true musik of Gdula is Ma'aseh Bereishis. When Adam Zok Chazal, the Ma'aseh Bereishis is Neveh Mitzad HaTzimtzum. Mitzad HaMesilus. Yeah, we'll see, brother. Now the Rebbe is made of another word which is not Negea B'Shlav Zeh. So we'll skip these 3 lines for now because this is Mishkin Tavar Pasha that the Rebbe adds here.
Why is it here?
Why these 3 lines are here?
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Huh? No,
sorry, that's too early. But
the Rebbe says the emes right away. Well, we'll read the lines, but these need pirush, these aces.
Later on, how there was going to be 3 lines?
Yeah. This needs pirush. Lomer Zema the state needs pirush. Let's see the aces itself. The Rebbe says move on. Shigam oz umotzi levin. What does that mean? Shigam oz. Move on. That also in that stage, he's still in the realm of motzi levin. He's still amad nizach. So what when asvara that once the Eibush is sounds to himself, so he loses the fact that be'etzem is higher than Gedar HaMetzias. What's what the svara? What's that be mechadish over here? That I'm saying the Lush Shigam Oz also then. That doesn't mean also then literally that even la'achri atzimtzum. There's no svara that once this is a tzimtzum, so you should the pchina that is any matter should fade away. Shtaz asvar. Yeah, I'm not going to say as amad nizach that you have a psachacham gadol that's mitzantzim himself to relate to a lower level. So mainly his tzeichel should become ice. Why mitzad tzimtzum should you lose your initial state? That means gam us even when he's in a mode of tzimtzum. That means when the Eibusher is in the mode of yihirakia. So the koyach halakina was not melubish and it's a true slapshus. You see, kol shem kavachemer adin kesim chacham gadol b'yesef. Shemadgasi amidas chigdel unimse gam beis diburim kotten shein berchikal. The lashon over here is, let's even see the way the Rebbe says here. Someone's speaking to a cotton which is shalei be'er klal to his muz. But when he's speaking to the cotton, lepoyel mamish, he's relating to the musagim of the cotton. It's not a question of words. Lepoyel, he relates to the musagim of the cotton. So at that moment, he's not being munich in his ampus. Lepoyel, the cotton asks him which ice cream tastes better, strawberry and another thing, and he's thinking about that right now. And Ras Zetim with him, it's not just that he's tracht wegen the psatif sugya, and Lepoyel is saying words of ice cream or playing a game with the kid. Lepoyel at that moment, that's what he's thinking about. In a certain level of eslapshus. Lepoyel, he relates at that moment to the cotton. So, there's no reason that he's not going to become Eis Chacham if he relates to that. That's the Pasha. What the Rebbe sounds like is that even when he's in the mode of speaking to the cotton, it's not a tnu of nituk from the fact that he's a Chacham God. Which in the Mashal, I can understand what the Pshat is. But I'm saying what the Rebbe means, whatever, just sort of a bissel beer in the Mashal, the way that it was inside the Mashal. But L'chora, what's the word the Rebbe saying in the Nimshal? That even it's emes slapshus, the fact that the Eibush is there's a keach halaki which is now mitzuyir in the tzir of rakia, and he says yihir rakia. Means the Eibush is in a mode now which is being mahava yeshmayin. Mahava yeshmayin is a concept. Before Hakadosh Baruch Hu mitzad atzmai, the Rebbe said before, there's no concept of mitzias. So there's no concept of his chavas mitzias. Everything was in chadash. Any concept was in chadash. So the Eibush yihir rakia is already a slapshus, and that's emes slapshus. The keach halaki is malubish in the tzir of saying yihir rakia. Of being Mahavi Yeshmael. The Eibush is in the mode of being a Beir. Being Yidakir. So them Zakman that even when he's in the mode of, and he's in the mode of Metzias, he's still, the aspect of Eini Matzeh is still intact. It means the Eini Matzeh is also Metzumtzum in the Tzir of Matzeh. It's not that he changes his mode. That from Eini Matzeh now he lowers himself down and now he's in a different mode of being. It's the Eini Matzeh which is also in a Matzeh of Matzeh. Does understand the pratim, but the mashal is still not clear. What's the question? By the mashal, when the Chacham Gadol, what the Dugma that we're saying, some Tzaddik brings say Av, which is playing a game with the son. Let's say. So a son Darton enjoys some type of little game, and the father is playing ball with the son. So he shows himself that he's excited that that one team lost or one team won, and so if he's just playing a game, he's just showing himself. He's just making a game. We're talking about that he puts himself in a mode that these things make a difference to him. For the Tzerech HaBen, so he's mitzantzim himself that the musagim katnuni of the ben should be tefes makom beim sama. Although like someone, the kid wants this type of drink or that type of drink, so you lower yourself to relate to which thing is better, which toy is going to like better. You actually lower yourself down to be mizbein, and this doll is going to be more better for him or the other tzatz. This is mitzantzim. So l'chore b'shas betracht wegen this toy or that toy, you're not munach l'chore atra weggegangen for seinen. So what are we saying in the mashal? He still could be conscious at the same time. What does that mean in the mashal? That ba'isa shah that he's mitzumtzim, can trachten wegen seinen svaras amukis. Ba'isa shah that he's dealing with which toy to use. He could. It's not a stidit to his emek aseichel. Is it the stakazeh? I don't know in the mashal. That's like how it works. But is the taka like the shas is going to be in the mashal? What's the pshat in the?
What's the difference?
Huh? We're going to get back to it. Say that. Okay. I'm saying in the mashal, and then pashas in the mashal. He says who mamish in the mashal. Okay, but that's I don't know what he means.
There's two questions.
We're going to have to go back to this. This is going to be the anyway. The
just in the legal when you use the expression "achacham God," the yosem, does it change the term of the mashal in any way?
Yeah, it's against it doesn't again. Mitzen. This. We're going to go back to this line. I'm saying there's some things that start with beer balabachi, but we're going to go back to this line. Oh, so the chiddush over here is like this. What's the Rebbe saying? Oh, the chiddush over here is I'll be pashas advarim. They're saying a deeper taich in the pshat in the Rambam. Say this. When the chos leida sheyesham matzidishin asfran yesham means that there's an Indian of a mitzias rishon. So and then he says v'myal das show any matzis. So the Rebbe is going to come taich a beer amakeser and these that Rambam is saying these two in Yonam Elukus. Shen I'm looking in Shnei Yonam Elukus and Rambam is Allah Sana Alif sheyesham matzidishin gu mamtzikol nimtza. What's the pshat yesham matzidishin? Hainu means a certain way the Rambam read Mevation that the Eibusha Masadatz means is Pashat Mufshat. This beer Omakesha in the Rambam, so to speak. Okay, I'm saying wrong. I'm saying wrong. We'll see. So the first thing the Rambam says is Hainu Shakadish Baruch Hu Hishbeles Atzmi Kvayachol Yis B'chinas Matzah. Metzias Shayeches L'Hamtzi Nimtz means the Rambam read the Chatchila, not the Etzim of Elukus. When the Rambam starts off speaking according to this previous beer, Posh the beer Matzah Rishon means that there is a Metzias Rishon. Why does Rambam use such a modern notion? So the Rambam is being Meramis here that the Eibush has come at Samson given that he should exist in the realm of Metzias, which is Shaykhis to Nimtzaim. Hainu Shakish Baruch Hu Hishbeles Atzmi Kvayachol Yis B'chinas Matzah. What's Pshat Matzah? Metzias Shaykhis L'Hamtzi. He should exist within the realm of existence which has to do with the Sabbath. V'Yiseirim Isu Achi B'chinas Matzah Rishon. Der die zwei Hishbeles von ich halten auf später, because it's not just in the Kodesh Hemshach before. This pratim, let's see the Hemshach closely. Hainu Motzik Azeh sheyesh liyachas v'dimin kvayachol l'mitzias and l'mitzias shnim tzuymen. You say a mocker. What's that a mocker? Say a mocker that the mitzi the Kodesh here is that the Rambam is coming to say the Gabi Elukus the elements are mitzias. Shemayim is a mitzias, Eretz is a mitzias, a person is a mitzias, Daimim Tzemei Chaim Medaber is a mitzias. How is it a mitzias? If Alderech the Rebbe says Legabi Esvara, Gashmis doesn't exist, or Legabi Mesikus, Yashus and Akmimus doesn't exist. So Legabi Elukus is Be'etzem, the whole concept of being of Shemayim V'Aretz doesn't exist. So the Eibush has come at Samson given, not Stamazid that he should be Begeder HaMetzias, but he should be Begeder this tzir of Metzias of Elam Hazar. And that this tzir of Metzias of Elam Hazar should have a chshiva, should have a value Legabi, should have a yachas, he should have a value Legabi his being. They should be considered also a being Legabi him. That's the word Matzir Rishon. He should be that the Eibush has come at Samson via Metzias and the B'china of Rishon that he has a shaychas chiyuvis. There's a yachas v'dimyon between him and the Metzias and himself. U'misad B'china zu mamtzi kol nimtza. This one we're going to get to this. I just want to go to the Hemshcha of the Matzir, the yachas to the Legabi halachas. We'll go back to this pratim here. Oh, that's the Einzach. So the Eibush has met Samson given that he should be considered a zasart mitzias, which the guy with this mitzias, Welt exists, and Welt has meaning. There's a heaven, there's an earth, there's trees, and chves, and behemoths, and chayes, and the Eibush has met Samson given that there's a certain fisa smuk into this type of mitzvahs. There's a yachas v'dinyan. Yeah, let's see, you see the Moshe that brings before when you get the Chacham Gadol and the little kid. So the Gabi, a little kid, the basketball dart is a davar chashamayit. And who wins this team or that team is a mitzvahs chshuvah. So the Gabi, his musagim, the Gabi, his world, whatever his world is, that's a mitzvahs, that's a chshivas. The Gabi, the Chacham Gadol, Chal Nishtivas Makam, the Gatzazach. Who's going to win the game? How is that's not? There's no inyan. What's the inyan in them? There's no inyan in them. So that's the Gabi, the Chacham's target. But he's mitzantzim himself that he should also exist within that realm of existence. So the Eibusher is not mukbal, and he's mitzantzim himself that he should be nimtza in the realm of mitziyah, which the Gabi, that realm, there's daimim, tzemeach, chayim, medaber, and daimim has a certain chshivas, and tzemeach has a certain chshivas, chay has a certain chshivas. They should be considered, mitziyahs in the Gabi. They should consider things that have meaning in the Gabi. Al derech, like you say, the Chacham Gadol is mitzantzim himself that in non katnunim of the ben should be tefes makam bein. Should be related to that level of being. And mitzad that dark is mamtzi kolim. That means the Rambam will say that he gives reality, he gives mitzvahs, he gives chshivas. Then also the Rambam nachazach, and this is the taish, not the pashta taish. V'im yala rashu enimas. The Rambam means to say that v'im hu enimatzi. The Rambam means to say not that the Eibusher doesn't exist. Hainish HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitkameshim mitzad atzmi hu eni begeder matzi. The Eibusher says that is not considered in existence. Matzi leibim tziyas. That's what the Rambam means. The Rambam sagt the Chamer Nevuchim that the Eibusher is matzi leibim tziyas. So thus, B'shas Rambam says any matzi for someone that has a avona amuka and that knows Meir Nevuchim. So any matzi means not together mitzvahs. For someone, and Pashas and Rambam, any matzi means existential. But someone that's more, say, an amko sabir in the Rambam, someone that knows the Rambam touches up musagim Meir Nevuchim. Someone that has a deeper musagim. So in the Rambam, any matzi means not mugder the gdarim of mitzvahs. That's why nicht existential. He's not, doesn't have the definitions of being. He's beyond the definitions of being. So them sagt zu der Rambam, but mitzad this darge ain't davar acher yochel yimatzis. Because this darge there's no nisin asagim from mitzvahs. Because there's only him. There's talking under the masagim. No, Meret, the Rebbe is all speaking. Even the second darge, Meret all the way Elokus is misyachish to Nimtzayim. We're not dealing with Elokus the way he is about Smusi Mamish. In Chassidus he say there's the darge of Seva Kalama that any begeder almin klal. Every darge which has no relation. The Rebbe is speaking all Elokus which is mufshit from mitzvahs. Not atzmos that we don't say the word mufshit either. That's what I'm saying. Both darge, there is the way the Eibusher is mitzantzim himself that he's in a form of being, and a being that relates to the type of being that there is in the elements. And then Elokus mitzad atzmai is mufshit from the tzir of being. But what we're saying at him that he's mufshit, we're not saying at him that he's shlilas chol that he's not this and he's not that. Meret, the Eibusher mitzad atzmai is mufshit from this hagdar of mitzvahs. Vos is hecha from mitzvahs. Meret is hecha from mitzvahs. Not that he's built in mugdar klal. That's what I'm saying. This dark of any matzi is not etzem. The Rebbe starts off in the beginning of the Sif that HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'frat yesh lekesher b'yachas the mitzvah shebaylam. B'yachas zeh there's two truths. It means the Eibusher there's a relation to mitzvahs. What's the relation? On one hand, he gives an nisin asmakim to this mitzvahs. Inside that tzimtzum, he gives his nisin asmakim. Belit tzimtzum, he's shelo this mitzvahs. He's beyond this mitzvahs. It's not. Out there, like we're going to say that. Look in the order. This is an important point. We're not dealing with atzmas and hus. We're dealing all the darga that's a tzir. And what's the tzir that's mushit from mitzvahs, but not shlilas kol atayim mechlal. I don't mean shaykhs. I mean to say the Rebbe is not speaking about something which is shlilas kol atayim mamish. It's not shaykh to say that he's mufshit either. The Rebbe is saying his gather is that he's mufshit from elements. That's touch the Rebbe ganze Zeit. I mean, it's at this darga that cannot be. We're not speaking about things that are. The Rebbe is saying this is out there, like you're going to say. Look in the order 35. The Rebbe says. Well, that much costs in Meir Nevuchim. That means, look at we'll see the whole order 35. Even though the Rambam speaks Hemshech and Allah Chazayim, when they get to the dark of Motzi, at them sagt the Rambam, ein like dimin b'chalal nimtzayim, that they'll meet it, amidi ve'eshve. So at them sagt the Rebbe, they say, zeh gubitzarech v'shayach lishlosh, in the diman tzayim ba'elam, mechir sheish ezi yachas b'nei. They say, this Chacham is the greatest Chacham from all Chacham. And he kind of compare his Chacham with the Gabi them. That means that there's a Psah Shvav. You're not going to say that this Chacham is a Zag Reiser Chacham Shalei Be'erech to all the football players with no Kesher B'chlal. You say that there's a Ribi Chacham, and this Chacham Shalei Be'erech B'res. So out there to say, they'll meet it on Yuni, Unetek in the Me'evish mit Nevrayim, who could be compared to me? The Rebbe is saying, well, in that Alta Dargan Elokus, which Kabiyachol is in of Chacham and in of Chesed, Now, if them zakmin that the chachma, the chesed, the way it is in the lukus, shalei be'er klal to the way it is in the nivra. That meant also musig of a lukus where shachas to the mitzias and mitzvah.
But after the Aris is Mashiach.
1 second, Mashiach b'china de eini matzi. This is what I wanted to say. Mashiach b'china de eini matzi. Mekivan she'eini b'sug ha-mitzias klal. It's b'chal not within this category of being. The taich being doesn't exist in the Gabi him. You say, could you speak about malachim leumas basketball players? It's not in the same world. They don't exist in that caliber.
But it's still not Mitzias in sort of that level of Mitzias.
No, Bechlal Sugam. Any darga you're speaking about this darga which is mufshit from that Sugam Mitzias. We're speaking the general musig of elements. We don't know now. Let's say we don't know Sefer Shalshos. We're learning in Amma. There's the world. The Bereshit Bara Elokim. Then there's the Eivishur before creation, beyond creation. And Lagavi the Eivishur beyond creation, before the concept of creation was initiated. Bechlal, he's not within this category of being altogether. Not within this category of existence. You learn in Kabbalah that there's Esesphiris, so the Eivishur is beyond Esesphiris. That's not the. But what he said. But even this is not Atzvus. What does the Rebbe say here? Kivan she'eni b'sigam tzis klam. But I mean, saying gamin shayach le'mer she'eni dem l'nusam shebayla. Says v'adach mashkas mer levuchim sham k'mishli yomer bin sikos le'mu veses v'leisha. You can't say on sweetness that it's psagleicha sweetness or a kruma sweetness. Or you can say that sweet, but it's not, doesn't have the chishon of krumkeit. The gedorim don't exist over there. But we're saying, we're not saying that any matzah is beyond saying shlila also. Amal zakman, the elim, the evish, said the atzmos, b'chlal shlilas kol ater. It's not shaykh to say yeah, not shaykh to say no. That's not what we're saying over here. We're saying there's a darg of a lakus, which legabi him, he's mufshit from this tzir of mitzias. The tzir of, he's mufshit from gvul. He's ain't sof, he's bleakvul. He's mufshit from the tzir of gvul. Gvul is small and he's beyond that. Then there is b'chlal before the musig of bleakvul. I'm saying the evish himself. That's what I'm saying. The shlilas kol ater is a whole different Indian. The Eibusher is beyond saying that he's beyond. He's beyond saying that he's limited in being mufshit from Tzir Mitzvahs. Here we're speaking about, there's an aspect of Lukus from this point of view, Welt kenner sein. There's a darga in Lukus which like mitzad this darga, the world has no existence, doesn't exist. The same way in Seichel and Asvara, there's no square and circle, doesn't exist over there. Legabi, the darga of any motzei, there's no concept of Derin Tzemeh Chaim Medaber Eilam Bria Yitzir Shishtazazar. This type of being doesn't exist. It's a non-existent thing. It doesn't exist. That's a certain darg of also a certain, this is called a certain gather also. That he's beyond saying, beyond this form of mitzias. He's beyond any form, so I say. But he's beyond the form. I'm not saying that he's b'chlal higher than saying any type. Yeah, that's just with that. The Rebbe is saying this darg also a darg which has agdor. Mitzad darg is who ain't davar acher yachal yimatzis. Mitzad this darg is kenner zayin mitzias. Kenner zayin. And he can't be Mahaber. The concept of his Havas doesn't exist. It's the way the Davish isn't said that. The Davish said that. So he's being for himself. Oh. So now we're going to have to go back to some part, but just Apia now you've and if the Shabbat Rebbe asked is what's the pshat in the Rambam Yala that's Shehu Eini Motzi. If the Rambam means just Kipshute, that it means Shehu Eini Motzi, that Davish doesn't exist. You should have said She Eini Motzi. What's Shehu Eini Motzi? So you have to remember, the Rebbe is learning here in the Rambam. It's not like a regular limud the Rambam. Usually you learn the Rambam, as the derech, we understand it is. What's the Rambam gemeint? Here the Rebbe is saying there's the simple beer of the Rambam, and then there is, the Rambam was Merames Bolsheni, a deeper beer. This is based on what the Rebbe is saying. The Rambam wrote a sefer, and even within the realm of the Rambam, there's someone that's in a higher degree of seichel. So you could read these musagim, these terrain that the Rambam brings in a deeper way. All within the Mizgaris of the Rambam. The Rambam allein taisht of the Verte from Indi Motzi in a tifra. And then there's a simple musag of the Rambam. So there, it's a different taish where we say that the Rambam wrote the sefer, kakot and kagodol. So usually say the pshat is the Rambam wrote the sefer in a way that anybody can read it. Agodol, akot. So there is, the word is, a godol can taisht these halachas according to the musagim of a godol. And a cotton and the words have a meaning also for a cotton. It means there's two realms of Havanas in the Rambam. There's a basic taich that a cotton can taich up, and then if you're going to look well and you have a deeper you have a deeper understanding of the Musagim that the Rambam speaks about, so then you can have a deeper understanding of this Rambam. The same Rambam. The Rambam was Rambam. This is not another beer. So what's that?
Would you say it's Pashat Rambam?
This no. The two that Rambam means the Yal Sheini Motzi means that a tchin of Eini Motzi.
No.
But to pull us?
Yeah.
No, not a regular beer. Yeah. I don't know what's Pasha Pshat I'm saying. Yeah. What's the Pasha? I'm saying, what's the Pasha Pshat in Pirish? I'm saying, the Chamish Lemikra. I'm saying, how are we being Beich in Pasha Pshat? I'm saying, we just teach words. That's Pasha Pshat means teach the words and don't. The Rebbe is not just teaching words. The Rebbe is saying, in Yala Das, is saying another aspect in the halacha. That's not okay. I don't think it's Pasha Pshat.
Pasha Pshat, Yala Das, Melitza.
The Ram's Keifel Ashen. Or Zak the Zach Nachamo. Or whatever. Or the Ram saying, as if I mentioned it, I'm saying Pasha Pshat. This is the way we teach it. I'm saying the Pasha Pshat in Yala Das is the Ram is telling you another busy. Don't think the Eibishter made the world. First of all, he made the world, and someone else couldn't have done it. That's Pasha what the Ram means. It's a Keif. I'm saying it's a Keifel Ashen. The same way Rabbi Asher Rashi, different. You learn Rashi, Pasha Taish, and the Vels of the Kashas. But if you can, what do you mean when you say the word Pasha Pshat? What's mean this? Pasha Pshat means. What's the basic uptouch from the event?
The question we asked at the beginning is our Pasha Pshat question.
Say so. Pasha Pshat means.
So it's a lack of Pasha Pshat.
Okay, so it's
Rashi
good Pasha Pshat.
The way it's supposed to run the Rashi. Obviously, you
you have to know exactly how this
these are questions.
I understand, but a question doesn't mean that the basic reading means a certain way. There's depth and there's even the basic question, but I'm saying it's not so Pasha. Huh? Everything is basic. I'm saying. It's not just Pasha. I'm saying Teres, not saying. Anyways, that's not just Pasha. Piano, you and the Oster. The Ram says like this. Piano, look, Sham show any motze. By Savas, they assume was better. Kavanasi, but music any motze. Koleimar sagt as Ilune Marsh any motze bavad. If the Ram wouldn't have said Shehu, he just would have written any motze. But you have Shalitische Pirusha any nimtze klachas v'shal. Savas, they was Shehu mudgish. Shameduber who beter bedagas Hashem Ameduber difference. Shehu Haina Mamtikol Nimtza means the Rambam is saying the Im Yala das Shehu, this Almighty, which was the Mamti of Kol Nimtza, which brought everything into being, which he said before, the fact that he was able to bring everything into being is because he was mashpal himself to be in the form of Matzah. But I'm saying this one that brought everything into existence, he is Eini Matzah. Shehu Haina Mamtikol Nimtza. He's any matzah. What's the shot that he's any matzah? They say that this thing is if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. What's saying that this thing doesn't exist? Kavana be any matzah. I should be yachadim zeh. The Rebbe is saying the emes now. I should be yachadim zeh. Sheyesh b'darga b'teir naili yes. Should any matzah handle living seas. Legabe amitis in it. The Rebbe is saying here is it's biyachadim zeh. It's comes zusammen with this. This any matzah, or the way the Rebbe says gefaket. This matzah called nimtza, together with the fact that he's a mitzias, which is a begeder mitzias of the nimtzaim. Biyachadim zeh, not another aspect, and it's integrated with the matzah is that he's an Eini matzah. It's an Eini matzah which is also a matzah, or it's a matzah which also contains the mile of an Eini matzah. Like the 3 lines before, which this Rebbe is saying that mitzvah. Then there's going to be pratim here of the Ram doesn't say it. It's going to be pratim here, but the Rebbe matrish over here is shehu Eini matzah. The way the Rebbe is touching it here, this matzah called nimtza, which was the gesagt früher, that this matzah called nimtza in order for him to be that. The hamanti has to be a motzi because even this kemotzi kamedish machen mitzias. This who is not a safe puzzle is an amtzik on nimtza. It's an any motzi which is also a mamtzi. You say a chacham gadol, which on one hand the chacham gadol he's mufshid from being to take a smoke in who's going to win the game, and it's a chacham gadol which also relates to a basketball game. The same chacham gadol. On one hand, the chore legabi mitzad emi chachamase in ishtar zamatzadzach. Leida is yada zadzach. There's an Eini matzah which is also a matzah. So the tzimtzum is not the mitzad tzimtzum. He left that mode. The tzimtzum is that while there's an Eini matzah, he could also relate. That's the tzimtzum. We'll see. The yachad is obviously later. Oh, so it's the Rebbe gefragt der Shaila. What's the pshat? Im yal ala das. Chora, the Ram gedacht sagen, it's a different lashon. It's Ram kommt mit shir lashon v'igilu. What's the yal? Then he's even coming to lashon sharam im yal ala das. Because so first Rebbe attaches ki idea zu shu Eini matzah because salgadaitach. The idea of madreg analysis. We'll see later what the sagadaitach is. But this is a yal al das. Yal al das is a person living in illness. Living in Elamis, the only thing that you know of is the existence that you experience. Not only mitzat herik, even mitzat seichel. A person, which musagim do you have naturally? The musagim that the world presents for you. In yonam of higher than Gedera Metzias, that seichel mitzat atzmi doesn't reach to that mitzat atzmi. Seichel mitzat gidrei, mitzat tziyurei, is teifis the Metzias and nimsa lefanam. So he looks at Welt and he sees that there's a day mitzvah me'achayim medaber. Kommt zu gehen von denen. There's a mocker which created everything, and this mocker doesn't have the agbalas of the Metzias. He's a nimtza. He doesn't have the agbalas of the Metzias of the nimtza. But that's all a musig of a lakut which has shaykhis the Metzias of the nimtza. Seichel mitzad atzmi could not reach to a form of reality which is b'chlal not within the category of being. Seichel is also Metzias involved. So what type of musig of a lakut is seichel mitzad atzmi mechayiv? A musig of a lakus which has to do with the Gdarim of Metzias Avel. They were just tachas ha-shlemos, tachas ha-bligvol. Chveis is not shaykhis heder, but not shaykhis heder is beyond the whole concept of Metzias. That is, the best Metzias, or the most perfect Metzias, not beyond the whole concept of Metzias. Because seichel mitzad atzmei v'hot nish azam esut musig. In Welt nish azam musig. So seichel mitzad, which is also Metzias Shabbayelim, can't mitzad atzmei reach to a gather of a lakus, or to a gather of a reality that's beyond its whole category of existence. So, Adem Zakram, it's an aliyah with us. The fact that that's an aliyah, that means that seichel can sukum inside a darga which is higher than the Metzias of seichel mitzad. It's be'etzem an aliyah with us. Seichel mitzad we come to choose to that. Ki idea zu shu eni matzi, because agadaitach the idea b'madrege nailis yeser, my idea sheyesh matzirish. It's a higher type of idea. It means a mensch that sukum inside a akarda, that there is a gather of Metzias which is beyond Bechlal, the whole category of being. And that's the Amitis HaTayar, that it's an Aliyah B'das.
Not shy to come into idea.
That's what I'm saying. It says we're not speaking about Sefer Kalam the way he is. We're not speaking about Ini Begeder Alman Klal. Within every category, within every level of Metzias, we're saying that the mocker of this Metzias is mufshit from the Sol Tziyah. And the fact that the Eibusher relates to Welt is that there is a Muslim idea Shlila. That in seichel it's a different type of seichel, but it's an idea that you could have in the fact that the mocker is mufshit from the tzir of the Metzias. And the fact that it's in a form of Metzias is a tzimtzum, it's ashkol. A mensch can sukum says idea, that's what comes up from the Rambam. But it's an aliyah b'das, it's a different type of limud. There is a limud, what are we talking about? We're talking about the das coming to a concept of that there is a Metzias which is beyond the Gadar Metzias of Welt. Of Metzias of Nivraim. So there can't be idea sachiyim in this type of Metzias. It's idea sachlila. That the mitzad etzem, he's mufshit from the Sol Tziyah. There's pratim in that, but when I'm saying the lashon yal aladas, that it's the etzem and aliyah b'das. This diagram is saying every person, there's many, to know that there's a matzarish is also an aliyah b'das. And then shveis nervous as that. As a little kid, you only know what you see. A person vaks, the ruchnius, if there's this, if there's that. That's not an aliyah. That's the seichel discovers more of Metzias which exists in its realm. That's seichel. That's seichel mitzadatzim. Abeser seichel of shvacha v'rakapanim. That's all part of the Gedera seichel. The tfisin on Metzias which is mushit from the Gedera Metzias. That's an aliyah b'dat. That's a different type of tfisin. Avtzukum to them that has to be idea sashlila. I'm saying that's and the fact that seichel comes to them, we'll see later. I mean, the Rebbe doesn't speak about it here, but the fact that seichel comes to them is because the pnimi is the matzah is the eni matzah. It's the eni matzah b'tzimtzum. Saying it's not two different daggers to gamma. We'll see later. It's an aliyah b'das. And the word is, why is the Rambam saying yala ladas? As they darzen. The Rebbe is learning here, that's the mitzvah tag. The mitzvah is leida sheyesh matzah, and then not. There should be yala ladas, and you should come to the recognition that this matzah is not only matzah; he's also any matzah. That's in chiyuvi. What's the Rambam being shared? What's the im? So that's what it adds here. What's the im? So in other words, when we start the biur hamarumas b'Rambam, the Rambam is saying a davar chiyuvi, a davar amiti over here. He's saying he's being shared a certain aspect of how to say vitzu uptouch in the word. But the etzvin of this, according to this biur, the Rambam is introducing that there is an any matzah. And the Rambam is saying that the Rambam is not saying stam as it is this matzah. And the Rambam is saying that you can have an aliyah b'das, and that's in chiyuvi. That's something which Rambam is right. That's negei al that a person should reach such a dark. The v'im is not being mag with the whole thing. There's a certain prat. You have to know how to take this aliyah b'das. That's the v'im. But the Rambam is being mevat a certain emes in this yala b'das. He's not saying if this, then everything is nothing. You understand what I'm saying? We'll see how the Rebbe touches it. What I'm saying is the point is there is a push to beer, uptouch and vert, and then there is the Rambam wrote the Sefer also for a Gadol, that Mot Meram is given Biyurim in the city. And from that point of view, it's not, if there's any Chiyuvi here, so why does Rambam start off with Vidim? It's not, the Rambam is saying the Indian of Aliyah B'das, and there's an Akud, they say there's an Akudas HaGbalim, it's not Vim. It's not Shelo the whole Indian. Let's see how the Rebbe touches it. He says, Masha Rambam Shel in Zeh, V'im Ya'ala Sho'eni Matzi, In Kavanasi Lishul Etz Mater Deni Matzi. Sagt the Chasiyat Hazazah. The Rambam doesn't say that Eina came. He says there isn't any Matzi. Kim Lishlat zweite Sache. Lishlat sagt, dass Gedeitach das Svara, Hashem is Baruch Rak any Matzi. Lishlat has from this Matzi. He says, Im Ya'ala Das, that the Mantzikon Nimtza is only any Matzi. Yamot Potish can sein Matzi. That from wissen that the Neset to the fact that there's any Matzi, he's also Matzi. That's what the Kveim Neimer came Azai in the Baruch Rak Matzi. So the Rambam Gedav, if the Rambam held to be Shelo, that there is a beer Omakes of the Musik of any Matzi, which is the Nekud of Matzi Believing. If the Rambam Kavot Shelos, as Nishtaz Azar, the Eivishal Chatchil is a Mitzias, but the Gedav is arguing that if you're going to, first of all, it's not an Aliyah B'das, then it's a toast. So the Rambam should say that any Kain or the Rambam is saying it's an Aliyah B'das. It means the Rambam is being made that there's a Musik Amiti, which is higher than the Gedra Mitzias of Mitzvah. It does not with the words Ya'ala Ladas, that there is a higher Darga of Alakus, which Tzukum into that Darga is an Aliyah. It's an Aliyah Sasech with a higher Darga. So the Rambam is being Shelos and Nishtaz Zayin, there's not that it's an Aliyah B'das. It was the Rambam being Shelos that it's not. He's not only that. Don't get stuck with Aliyah B'das. Because if you're going to get stuck there, so then Welt is garnished. Then it's stuck in Mitzvah. Mitzvah the Eini Motzi, Mitzvah is just nicht. And that's nicht demes. So you have to know that B'yachadim said that he's a Motzi, he's also Eini Motzi. That's Kvim never can ask in the Berachah Rechel Motzis. For us, was Artman in the Berachah Rechel Motzis. So us are Mitzvah Seilu Mutimi. Shideo Maskona Zui Beniglo in the Teilu Mitzvah. ולכן צריך לומר שאף שיש ברוך צד עצמי ידי מוצא וכל מקום הישבלס עצמי לי יש גם מכנס מוצא ריש. So we have to see the Seder Advarim in the Rambam, but how he starts off with Motzi. Once you come to the Musik of any Motzi, you verstehst du that the Motzi is a Tzimtzum fact. And the Yachadim said that is any Motzi. The Rebbe is saying the Rambam is not a Tachais, so to speak, that the any Motzi comes together with the Motzi, because that's a Dover Aposhut, because you have a Chemer from a Chacham God B'Yesir. Oh, the Rebbe wants to bring out here, it's not a P'schidushim. Imetzer was versteht richtig the Minion, so Klach is gonna come a Chacham God B'Yesir. That even it's that Tzimtzum. It's not that he leaves his Chachma Amukah. So Allah is coming to get to Lakus, that the Any Motzi is not necessarily Shelo, that there's a Tzimtzum. And that's not Shelo, the fact that he stays in a Eifin of Any Motzi. Yeah, we'll see.
Where are we getting back to the...
Huh? Which the two Shlavim. The two Shlavim is the Chacham Nabir, the two Shlavim. Two Shlavim need to be here. I'm saying the Pasha the Pshat, because the Pasha the Pshat, but it needs a little beer. Because the Rebbe goes back to this later, to this in the later. See, the Pasha the Pshat the Rebbe is saying is that there's two Tzimtzumim. We should go through this prat, but maybe I think we should first finish one prat of here. Let's just see Sifir out, because it's not much the Shlema Sidi. Then we'll go back to the pratim. First, but Pasha the Shlema Sadavar. So that was some einwend in this couple of pratim. But Kamer Le'il, she said that says, "Amad Chacham Skel Shnei Yan Leida Sheyesh Matzirish." Even according to the Pasha Pshat, according to the Pirusha Pasha, the Skel two pratim. Leida Sheyesh Matzirish, and then there's Yala Dash. According to the first beer, the Pshat is Chiyuv and Shlu. That's the Rebbe in the beginning. I'm going to go back to it. The Rebbe goes into a separate part. So what's the Rebbe saying here? That Leida Sheyesh Matzirish and Yala Shoyeni Matzi. So the two pratim. So the way the Rebbe is in the beginning is the Yala Shoyeni Matzi is the Shlil of the Mitzvah Yidiyas Hashem. Now the Rebbe is going to give a different beer. So it's Arch Lav, and so now the Rebbe is saying, according to the beer that the Rebbe gave now, that Eini Matzi means that Eibushem Sadatzma is Mushit from Gedera Mitzias. So Verta Kasha, why is that mentioned before? Bishtum Leida Sheyesh Matzirish Muvan Shuhu HaYisod L'chol HaLochas HaTev. According to this beer comes a very Geshmak beer. The Rambam is not Stamaz the Rebbe. In fact, the Shaila, why is Rambam start say such a modern eternal Lukus? Sheyeshem Matzirish. So it's Sheyeshem Alakah. The Teretz says the Rambam is being menaseach the musik of a Lukus as a Yisaidis to the Indian Halach. For Indian Halach is neged, the first thing is that the Eibush is a Mitzias. The whole Geder of Allah is Uftan and Veld. So the first you say to know is that the world matters. It makes a difference to whether my hand is is a chayvetz which is maniach tefillin or not, is tevis makam the guy with the Eibishter. Whether the meach adam knows the lukus or not, without mitzadat the Eibishter machaz ain't so, or takas aruchnis. What's saying the gay? See, there's some mention in the universe that knows about his emes or not. The meich machaz on mitzvahs. So in order for the yisod, in order for the miyah musig of Allah, there's negeh to know that the world matters, and there is such a thing called the mitzvahs or meich adam. So negeh to wissen, not that the Eibishter exists. When the Rambam is Masech a lukus al yisod to the musig of Allah. So the first yisod is that the Eibishter is as a certain mitzvahs, which the gabi him the meich has a chshivas. The gabi say what is this? There's a certain Gagresa Tzadik, was the Bechal Negeh, you mentioned, if they're listening, they're not listening, is Bechal Mufshis in the Holy Name. The Eibishter's Alachas Kama Mufshis. So then it was Bechal make a difference to him if Sheikhet and Atzavar, Sheikhet. So then Zakram, the Eibishter is a Motzir Rishon. He is a Metzias which relates to the Gdarim of Metzias of Welt. And it makes a difference to him in what's Farah even first of the Welt. It means this is, he's within the realm of this reality. And if this reality is not functioning, it Kavayachol is Mavavelim. It's a Metzias Legabim. Das ist die erste Sache. So da versteht man, that is schlimm, weil der Sheshem Matzerischen, Bechulu, and he's Mamtikol nimmt so. Move show you say the Chalach Satel. Wie kimmer she called in Allah so little bin im Zayn. Shbaima. Versteht man, as da seine Metzies. Ist der Rebbe Tatsch ist, klemmer im Jahr Shiva Adam Shashem Mizar Chul Rake in die Motze. Eba Mensch mit Mene. Der Ebisch ist ein Sof. Chad and Shlebe Gedra Metzies. So Yovel dem Askane, Shemtzies Eile mit Dimi. And the Gabi him, das ist not typisch Magim Achal, die ganze Mais. But to come inside Maskana Api Seichel, that Elam is Zadimim. I'm saying Api Chsidis, you say that there's Kol HaShavis Hashem Os, but saying Api Seichel. A person comes to the recognition that the Eibishter is beyond the definition of being. The Gabi him, this category of existence doesn't exist. Al derech, like, there's no Ivus and Yashus and a Mesikus. So Meile, but was come to inside Maskana, you're experiencing Ivus and Yashus, and the Eibishter is Mesikus, or so the Teres Zadimim, whatever the pshat in the word Dimim means. But a taka has there's nothing real to this mitzvah. It's a fantasy. It's a dimyon. Mekivan shanoch zu shilas chashivus mishalach zatel shinyan mulifo badvarim shveilam. That's a yisod. A yisod the chalach zatel or later sheshamat zrishim am tzikol nimtz. That person felt as a mitzvah. V'chdei tzivus felt as a mitzvah. You have to know that the Eibishter, which is the mocker of mitzvah, is a zama certain mitzvah, which legabi him idas azach. That's the erste zach. So why isn't the get to Bechal know that there's any matzah? In the Yalda Sheheni matzah, not China so in the Berachachli matzahs, ki im dem Tzias she'einam mitis dimim ba'alm, ma shaychas yesh li la'yisei shlalachas. V'apir bez, so here the Rebbe says the Nukolim. Beis ha'inyanim she'pulas mitzvah v'inyan ha'elam she'tiyah mitziyusim k'fi ha'tzivui. V'shelei tiyah tziras mitziyusim k'meshim mitzadatzim tenem k'imem mitzvah neivim beis ha'chunas matzah v'inam mitzvah mitzvah. That's like the Rebbe there. That the kayach, the fact that he has the kayach to construct the world, two products. First of all, you're giving it a correct form. You're making a positive impact. You're taking a kid, you're educating him that he should be a mensch, or he should be as a learner, as a davner. So you're being mitzayim atzur chiyubis, and then you're going to be mevatel tchunes shliliyas that he has. Others think any mitzvah shabaylam. You're taking the hand and you're connecting it with tefillin. We're taking the mayach and you're impacting it that it should be a mayach which is chayder in him that kara sheyesh matzah edition, and you're being shelo the tzir that it had misadatzme, that it's a neutral mitzvah. So bechdei zu uften die zwei Sachen, that's mekayach hamatzah and the eni matzah. So according to this view, we'll see. Pulas a mitzvah shemitzvah yisrael tiyek fi a mitzvah lemshachas me'apchim et the matzah edition shemamtzik on the mitzvah. Means mamtzik on the mitzvah is the makar mitzvah. So you want to educate the kid. So you have to develop his kayachas. So you need a kayach which could affect something in it. That's the mamtzik on nimtza. The Eibishter is this resource of mitzias. The makar mitzias can be shafin and it could be mechanech, and you could bring in, you could fix, so to speak, this mitzias. Or mekanim zugeben. You say you want to take a ershel behema and make him a klaf of tefillin. So you're giving it something positive, a positive form that they didn't have before. That's Neveim, it's at the Matzah Rishon. The Eibishter is the source of Metzias. And from that point of view, you could take, from that Kayach, you could be Mesaka the Metzias Shabayel. And fix its form. That's Mesad the Matzah Rishon. Shemamtzikon, he's the Makar Metzias. But they're not Mevatal saying. Polas Meilum Shalai Yib, it's Razik Meshim Mitzadatzim. Shlilas Metzias Shabayel. That's the Mshachas in Mabchina the Eini Matzah. Hashilel is Mitzias Elohim Davar Charech Limatzis. This is Nishki Pash the word. But the word is, when we say Mitzad Halacha, the gather of a Meach, let's say, is, or the gather of a Yad is, a Yad of Manachas Tov. And the gather of a Yad is a Yad of Mechalekas Dog. And a Yad and the Tchun of giving someone a Hakah is Mushlo. And V'mele, you have to eradicate it from the hand, let's say. So the way we look at it is, the Eibishter doesn't like stealing. L'payol, there's klippus, so maybe the hand could steal. It's not the shot that there's klippus. The guy with the Eibishter Geneva is mufrach. But the payol, mitzad the darga of Matzeh, the fact that the world is created in a way that there is Geneva, that's not a davar nice. Mitzad the darga of Matzeh, the gather of a hand is a hand. Not a hand to put on food. Mitzad the darga of Matzeh, the Eibishter Samson given, was mashal himself within the form of being of Mitzias Elements. Chachme, Chesed, Gvura, Teferes. Mitzad that darga, Chesed is a Mitzias. Not necessarily the Chesed of Kedusha. Chesed is a Mitzias. Mitzad the darga of Matzeh, the fact, it's Shtatish from Klippus. The fact that, you say, Im Pasha is wrong, the fact that a person could steal, that's Neveim, he said, Helamas Verstadium. A hand could move, a hand could take, it's not, there's no gather that a hand could only take, a hand could take anything. Or Al Derech Zeh Chveis Shabbos, Yom HaShvi. The fact that a person, his gather is that he doesn't rest on Shvi, the Sami said Klippus Nisafis. That's the gather of Elamis. The gather of Elamis is that Zman is not Meshane, the fact that the person working and resting. So the worst thing about the Payol, the Ratzon Elin is that the Yad should be Mufrach, the Nekud of HaKol. So that Mevatel Zayin, on the Nekud in the Yad, which the Yad has, Mitzad, it was created that way. Mitzad the Elokus becomes a mocker for Mitzias. Mitzad that darga, the Yad is a Zame Sarzach, which is a hand, a neutral Mitzias. Not calling Yoni is the front form. So if you want to change that, you can't change it Mitzad the darga of Matzah. Because Mitzad the darga of Matzah, you create the reality the way the reality is. So if you want to change it, that can Tzukum to that aspect of the Elokus, which the Gapi him, there is no world. Shtakinveld. And Mitzad that darga, you could Mitzad that power that is not Mugdar in the Mitzias, that it doesn't exist in the Gapi him, you could delete this part of Mitzias. There's not. The Gabi is like Elchad is on Mitzias. That's the Hemshech Advar. What I'm saying, the Rekud that I'm saying over here is that the Inyan of Shlila cannot stem from the Matzah. There is an Inyan Amiti, the Eibishter has sounds from himself that Velt is a Mitzias. The Gather of Velt is that there's a hand, a table, a chair, and a table does not mean a place for Svarim. A table means you can put anything, which is also Kela things not prepared now that I put. So the Eibishter Mitzad the Darga of Matzah, Azaz Sart Velt Machter, which Shalei Behessen to Ratzon Elin. Now the Kud of Halacha is to make the world that should be Behessen to Lukus. So you have to cancel certain aspects of the Mitzias, which the world is created that way. And Mitzad the Tzmakar and Lukus that has that definition. So with what power could you delete that aspect in the Mitzias? Because the halacha stems from also the B'chin of Lukus. So the halacha also has the energy which is Zaveh Mitzad, the fact that the Eibishter is beyond the Mitzias of an insight. You have that aspect in Lukus, which the God of the Eibishter developed is Kinzachnish. And that aspect, halachas doesn't stem only from the Darga of Matzah. You have to see the Hatama, that is the beginning of the Inyan. But the halachas also contain within themselves that aspect in the Lukus that Legabe him, Velt is Nishke Mitzias, Velt is garnished. And Mitzadat Nekud is Nimshelo, the Gdarim of Velt. That's the first thing.
Why is Matzah not enough?
Because Matzah, that's what the shtil that I'm speaking about is, he's not speaking about a shtil of bad things, but something like Tzugat Shepet and Velt. Shtil is the Mitzias Ha'elam K'mei Shu Mitzadatz. The Eivish is a whole set of rules, 613 mitzvahs over there. The Eivish created a rule. There's animals die, a person has the ability to eat. Is there a gather that you can only eat shchuta? Some of the klippus. The Eivish created a world, the gather of a mouth is to chew anything that's soft, you could chew. And a veli could also is the same thing. You could also chew. The same you could chew on a veli, you could chew shchuta. Halach is this, or a person has a hand. A person has a hand, he could steal. There's an empty plate, you could go. That's the way the world is created. That's mitzvah the mocker of a yad, the way it is in the Darga of Matzah. A yad means a yad, not a yad of Nachastum. A yad. So if you want to cancel that nekudah, mitzvah the Darga of Matzah, mitzvah that Darga Matzah, you say that. So you have $5, but you have is in a very low Darga. But if someone's being mechanech someone else, let's say. So if you want to be shelo stuff, so you have to be able to be strict or to negate things in another person. If someone only has a tenu of chiyuv, can help von Heinkes Morgan that this tchon is not a good tchon of the kid, but he doesn't know how to be strict with him. The male is never, he can't be shelled. In order to be shelled, you have to have a tnuah of being mevatel, of not being sensitive to this person, or not being as a. You have to be in a tnuah of hapel. Saying mitzad dargav, there is the way the Eibishter what Samsung event in the surahs and mitzias of Welt. And mitzad that dargav, there's a tfisas magam to another mitzias. Mitzad the pnimis of Elokus, there's only him. In the Novad, there's only him. There's only Shabbos. There's only what he wants. Mitzad the dargav matzah, the Eibishter lowered himself that another reality means something to him, and he creates things, and he enjoys the creation that he creates. From that point of view, there's a tfisas magam to Welt. And what is Welt? There's Shemayim, Va'aretz, Yamim, Choteim, and there's a Metzias. There's a Metzias of Adam, David, Semeh, Chaim, and Daber. You can't say Shemavat saying. The Eibishter gives us some login to this Metzias.
Isn't Matzah even higher than the Sheri Shavuot?
Why is Matzah higher? Matzah is the...
No, doesn't exist within Matzah. Matzah is just the Eibishter, the way he's...
And which that is the one which gives us some...
Why can't he change it all? Why?
No, but he's the one that... Why is there Arba elements, let's say? Because the Matzah is an Azasar together of Metzias, which from him comes the Metzias of Arba elements. Every way we can understand.
Why does that mean that he can't?
Why did that this world come from the Eibishter, not a different type of world? Because
If they don't exist in Matzah,
this concept of being started with it. Everything starts in it. That's the whole part of the Rambam. That the Eibishter's Matzah Rishon, Sazasar Metzias, is a person, according to what type of Seichel he has, that's the type of Svaras is Mechavish. According to the type of Metzias the Eibishter is, that's what type of Metzias he's going to create. He created the Metzias. You hear that Kiyah is the Eibishter's Dibur. Stammt doch nicht von uns. Verkehrt, the whole reason why it was Mitzamtzim was in order that the Metzias Hanim Tzoyim that we're living, we should relate to him. It should be a Yachas. Metzias Ha'ilm is to the Eibishter.
everything developed has a Sheri Shavuot.
That's the whole point. The Eibishter is a Matzah Rishon B'hum Mamtzi Kol Mitzah. He's the one that brought into being, and Legabi him, they exist. He's their mocker. And the Nimtza, the way it was created, not the Nimtza, the world, the way we see it, where did it come from? People made it. Or this is the way the Eibishter made the world. Which what means the way the Eibishter made the world? This is the type of Metzias which stems from him being a Makra Metzias. So we have after Kabbalah, the Eibishter is Samson Esesfilis. So the Esesfilis, there was Gvar Naval. Esesfilis is Chachma, Chesed, Gvura, Teferes. There's a Slapshus, and inside that there's Gvura, there's Teferes, there's everything. I'm saying the world, okay, we're going to see later. The Eibishter doesn't want it, so why is this Matzah? We'll see the Prat. I'm saying it's not, there's a Primus Akavan here, but the technique that I was saying it is, you say there's a person, let's say that on one hand he's tzamtzim himself, and the darga of tzimtzum, another Metzias has a tfisas makom. He puts himself in a certain program, in a certain system, let's say, and from that point of view, the world has a system. And then L'Poyel, there's Primus Ratzon, there's other ways. But L'Poyel, in order for there to be a Metzias, he had to lower himself down and to put himself part of a certain system. So in order for the world to be behesed to what he wants, you have to reach that part of him that he's not mukbal in the system. But with that darga b'chlal, there's no Metzias. So that's we're going to have to see the prat.
What's the special koyach he needs for the Matzah? I mean, what?
It's a dabrchi. What I'm saying is,
Pulchini
is a pu'ula target. When a person what I'm saying is, we look at it, you do a mitzvah, you're not changing it, not making any impact. A mensch veis as do'a Eibishter. He made an impact in his mayat, or it's just you know it. Tomorrow I cannot know it. I'm saying when any halacha, it's not just actions. That's the whole point that I was saying here. It's not. It's the Eibishter wants the world should be behesen to him.
He's also changed.
The world should reflect the emes, the way the Metzias Elam is inside the emes. And inside the emes, what's the gather of a meach? Visnas da'agot. What's the gather of a yad? A yad is meshubet terotz na'alim. A yad is running through. That's the gather of a yad. Inside terotz na'alim. That's not to do it. That's what a yad is meant to be. When you're putting on tefillin, you're educating the hand. It should be what it was meant to be. It's not a technical thing. It's a change in the Metzias. Well, that's to come. It's not the change that's breaking the world. You take. I'm saying you take a little child and you educate him. You're not breaking him. You're teaching him and you're forming him in the right way. Why is that shlila? The gistem too. You're mashpi'ing him more. You're directing him in a better way. Why is that shlila? When you're taking away something from him, you want to break things that he has. Then you need to have a kodosh. At the first time, that's chiyuv.
Oh, so we said like in the beginning we start off, we understand Motzei of the fact that it's just giving Chivas the belt.
Yeah, the whole Yitzit Halach. Yeah.
And then he gives it to this is another no?
Which one?
Motzei,
Yeah,
beer is another
yeah.
And besides that, we already have.
Still, now they were saying that's a
We
fact.
need that to know.
Yeah, this is the first thing is halacha is as if the belt is garnished. What's the point of Bechal dealing with it? He doesn't care about the Gansamais. Then we're saying so that's you have to know the Yemish Hazamatzi. Then they were saying more. That's time to know the Yemish. And that's the koyach was marhat to ufta. That's going to get to you say they said. This is what is going to be. They say that beer, we say that you say that. So we're going to see later. The Rebbe saying, the Rebbe says later, in order for the halacha to Zoltan halacha zimidar to take affect the world is after saying, a person has to do the halachas mitech the regesh of these two inyan. As a mensch comes to gain Tamid Welt, he has to have the regesh of these. The mitzad echo, the Eibishter, is a mitzias which has an erech, which is another erech that has a dimmy to this mitzias, and it's neget in this mitzias, and not in a tnua that the Welt is garnished. And the idach he also has to have the tnua that mitzad atzmei Welt does not fit his mother. Therefore, you say this is that since the koyach that halacha has to uftan Welt is neveim at these two inyan melukos, so a yidach mekayim and mitzvahs with this akol. We'll see later. So you want to go, this come pratim here, but and according to this beer comes out that any matzah, the pu'ulas hashlila is higher than the pu'ulas achila. It's neveh from a higher darg in a lakus, not from a lower darg. According to the beer before stam, two different pu'ulas, a pu'ulas chiyuvas, a pu'ulas shlilas. Here the like the Rebbe too, that the pu'ulas chiyuvas is neveh mitzad the lower darg, a darg that's becomes a mocker to the mitzvah seilmas. Mashaking the any matzah stammt from a tiferet darg. The shlila. That's nevem, so the animats. The Abish is higher than it is. And it's negeh attack the Allah. That's this. So we will then free the nekud of the animats biyached. The animats biyached. That's negeh and the next in the base in the gimel. Just also we're doing first. We're going to do first the other inyan and the pratim here. We're going to get to the hashpalas from these inyan. Okay. So this is a pashat.
Especially because later in the Hara it says
Yeah,
it's not
that
about
was-
tradition,
yeah.
also about mitzvahs.
No, the Rebbe says that one nekud is only shaykhs mitzad eisavos. In the Orah 37, Avalei eni dematzi rishon. In the rishon is only shaykh shesh nimtzayim l'badeh.